very happy. Oh. Boston Motorsport in Brighton, Massachusetts invited me down to play with their Alfa Romeos. And although they have an insane collection of crazy cars inside that they sell, from GT2 RSs to wild Audi R8 V10 Plus Spiders, I'm actually probably more interested in this Giulia because it's a legitimate 3 Series competitor, and because it's an Alfa Romeo, it has all the work to do to try to steal people away from their loyal brands like Audi and Mercedes and BMW. So I'm very curious to see how this stacks up, and you're going to get my genuine first impressions on this car because I have not yet driven it. But first, let's start up this 280 horsepower turbo 4-cylinder and just see how it sounds. Now, while we let that warm up, let's take a walk around the car. And I think this is what really sells people on Alfa Romeo today, is because they are beautiful. This has so much more character and style than the typical BMW. And I'm not just trying to upsell you. This is why I like the car. I have no idea what it drives like yet, and we'll talk about that soon. But frankly, it's just so handsome. It's compact. And yeah, I mean, maybe there's a little wheel gap. This is the TI Sport, so it has that quadrifoglio style to it. But instead of being a $70,000 car, this one starts at $43,000. And what I like most about these Alfas is that you can option them in rear-wheel drive. This one is an all-wheel drive version. We won't hold it against it, but you know, you walk around the car, it's your typical small sedan. It's doing the thing. It's pretty comfortable inside. Beautiful red interior. And as far as creature comforts inside, we've got good visibility. I don't feel claustrophobic back here. Now, granted, I have plenty of legroom that is set for my seating position. I'm about 5'10". So, you know, a normal person would probably be sitting a little further back. I usually sit pretty close. But this two-tone red and black, very stylish, very Italian feeling despite the FCA parent company. Under the hood, pretty standard stuff. You're gonna get a big cover that's gonna make sure you can't see anything, but hey, there's our little power plant. I'm curious to see how this operates, but despite being a little 4-cylinder, we are mated to an 8-speed ZF transmission. So this should get the job done. But let's go take it for a ride, because that's why you're here, and that's why I'm here. I really just wanna know what this thing is like. Because this has the Sport package, we have the DNA, the adaptive suspension. So we've got dynamic, natural, and advanced efficiency. That's a long stretch for the A, but we'll give it to him because I like the little DNA acronym. But let's start off in natural. Feel it out while we put a little heat in this motor. But probably the most exciting thing about a car in this class, which is ultra Italian, is the fact that if you opt for that Sport package, you get these monster aluminum column mounted paddles. How cool is that? Like, honestly, that's a big selling point on this already, just for a style and excitement standpoint. She's not slow. This does the job. Now we gotta pop it into the D mode. These seats are extremely sporty. They're not exactly soft though. Maybe they just need a little bit more time breaking in. This is pretty much a new car, so I'm probably one of like 4 people who've ever sat in it. But yeah, I mean, they're rigid, and you can adjust the bolsters and all that stuff because that is optioned. But you're certainly not going to be sliding around in the corners. Plucky little engine. Very happy. Oh. It's playful. You can get yourself in trouble in this thing. And it's stiff, but not too stiff. I'm not getting tossed around too much over the bumps. Biggest concern about these Alfas when they first came out was this B-pillar, because I remember sitting in one time and thinking, man, that is right next to my face. But to be honest, it's not. I have plenty of visibility out of the car, which is nice and actually a pleasant surprise. And I'm definitely putting it through its paces on Boston roads, man. These are pretty thin sidewall tires, so if it can do this, it can pretty much do anything. Ooh, look at that, nice paved road. It's actually a pretty tossable car. If it were mine, I think I would opt for the rear wheel drive, save a little bit of weight so you don't have that extra drivetrain up front, and maybe just pare down some of the interior options because I'm cheap, so I don't necessarily need the leather dashboard, although it's very nice. But that's what's really beautiful about these cars. You can kind of get into them. All the trim levels are around that $40,000 to $43,000 range, and then you just add on a couple things you need. So for me, it's got to be that sport design, the sport wheel, so the sport package, and probably the active dampers, and then boom, you've got a pretty solid package. And if it's rear wheel drive, I would have a lot of fun chucking this around. The sound leaves something to be desired. It is not the most exciting engine note. It's not bad though. But you're not buying it for that. You're buying it for the character. You're buying it for the excitement of driving an Alfa, being a little different, cutting away from the usual gray BMW. Some things I might change. The blinker stock, it does that old BMW style, but I have to push it down to cancel it. So you get used to that, not a big deal. And the shifter, not a huge fan of the actual inputs, but you know what? You're interacting with that just the one time you're throwing it in reverse or drive when you start going. So easily forgivable. This cabin is super well insulated. I am genuinely impressed by this. I gotta say, you know it's a good chassis and it's a fun car to drive when the engine doesn't have a whole lot of involvement, auditorily at least. It doesn't have a great, incredible tunnel blast sound, but I am having a good time in this thing because it feels like a light, plucky sports sedan. This is what we liked about the E36 and the E30 days. I know that sounds crazy that I'm comparing it to that, but it's true. It's like we've gotten so bulked up and fat with all of these cars that it's hard to remember what it used to be like to drive the fun little plucky sports sedan, and this kind of brings that back. Definitely a comfortable cruiser at 70 miles an hour, under 2,000 RPM, so you know it's just going to be kind of sipping away at fuel and not over revving this motor. You've got enough torque to make the pass. You've got enough power to get you up to speed. Little bit of lag from that turbo, but what do you want? That's the nature of the beast. You want a little turbo 4-cylinder that can put out almost 300 horsepower. That's the sacrifice, but it's not bad. And because you've got it mated to this ZF 8-speed, it doesn't have a hard time staying in the power band. I'm gonna give you a little more room. That is terrifying. Not concerned about getting around you. Confidence inspiring. Oh. I really think having this little 4-cylinder up front makes all the difference in the handling. The nose feels like it just wants to dart in when you turn. It's fantastic. Look at this. You can avoid this pothole, and the steering is really direct. I'm not ever wondering where I'm placing it. I think a lot of sports sedans, they try to speed up the steering rack to make it feel like extra sporty. They try to make the throttle extra sensitive to make it feel faster because every tiny input gives you that instant response, but then at the end of the day you run out of pedal. This car feels pretty well rounded. All the new sports sedans out here are trying to just give you a big shove of power. They're in that horsepower war because it's the only trick up their sleeve to make their cars entertaining, because they've gotten fat and boring and the steering is numb. They've lost the plot when it comes to fun cars, and I am actually genuinely impressed with Alfa Romeo because this is an enjoyable little car that goes back to basics. It's not overpowered, it's adequate, yet it has a nice, rigid, light, plucky chassis with direct steering and just driver-focused tactility. And this adaptive ride is doing a pretty good job of soaking up these miserable Boston roads. You got to make the decision whether it's in your price range, whether that's where you want to go with it, whether you're willing to move away from the standard brands, the Mercedes, the BMWs, and the Audis. But don't overlook this. This is a really charming car, and driving it around Boston today, I've seen a lot of people take a second look. That's kind of fun. In a $40,000, $50,000 car, to have people breaking their necks to see you, that's not common. Let's try not to get all of the water on this beautiful white car. Well, thank you to Boston Motorsports for inviting me out to check out the Giulia. I'm pleasantly surprised. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.